Hi, Shelby Joe Long here with the Genius Entrepreneur Podcast, where I have the opportunity to explore the stories of how businesses were built around people's genius and their expertise. And they're living a life that they should be living. They're serving their purpose and they're having a great time doing it. And today I have the opportunity to learn a lot more about Phyllis's companies because she's got a whole umbrella. I know her through Collect and Collaborate, but that's just a piece of the bigger picture. I'm excited to hear about her journey and about how she transformed her expertise into income streams. So, Phyllis, welcome to the podcast. Will you introduce yourself?
Sure. Thank you so much, Shelby, for the opportunity today. So I want to start out by saying that, first of all, I'm a Gemini. So I have never done just one thing. I've always had this balance of one thing on one side and one thing on the other. I think I'd be bored to death if I only did one thing. So I am actually a recovered engineer. I do have multiple companies under the umbrella of transformation, and I have always concentrated on helping people transform from the inside out, from the outside in, with a self-care element. And so that's where the spa comes in to make sure that you're always doing self-care. It's so important. And I'm also the founder and CEO of a networking brand, like you said, Connect and Collaborate, because I have a passion to connect people, like you find their genius. I'm all about how can I connect people that are synergistic, that could connect, collaborate, help each other so the combination is even bigger than what you started with. Um, and then I also have a mental health and wellness side of my business where I help a busy entrepreneur with anxiety, stress, and overwhelm so they can show up as the best version of themselves, again, tying back into the transformation part. So I'm kind of like a one-stop shop. But I am a recovered engineer. I My roots are actually in the beauty and fashion industry from when I was very, very little. I modeled, I was in the runner-up to the Miss America pageant for scholarship dollars. But on the other side, the two sides, I am a brainiac. My father was a mathematician, and instead of riding in the car and singing kids songs, my dad would drill me on my math tables. So I became a math whiz. And so I do have strong roots in STEM. Even though I'm out of that business now, being an engineer, I still do have a passion for enlightening others, especially women, to go into the technology realm because that is huge right now as we advanced, through the ages. So I went to engineering school, got my engineering degree, had that great job, 4 kids, a husband. And halfway through my career, I decided it was not for me. Now, it took me 12 years to get out, 12 and a half years to get out of that 25-year-old or 25-year job. But I started chipping away at it. I had a beauty business, fashion business alongside my tech business. And I even wrote that book, The Breaking Free from Your 9 to 5, from Desk Job to Dream Career, because I am passionate about helping others reconnect with their core values, wake their sleeping giants, and live life on their terms, so they
I want
can
to I want to
live.
ask
Yeah.
quickly before you go on. I want to ask, what was that? Because you said it took you a while to separate from engineering. What was that kind of breaking point where you were? What was it? What was the impetus to do that? What was that breaking point where you thought, "Gosh, need to. I feel like I should be living a different life. I feel like I have another purpose." Do you remember? Was there a point that happened?
There sure was. Do you have any kids?
I do. I have two kids. Yep, two
So
kids.
I have four
12 and
kids.
9.
Okay, so I have 4 kids. They're all adults now. I had 4 kids in 5 years, and I worked a lot. I worked 50, 60 hours a week. And so I volunteered for everything I could to get out of work. I volunteered for the room mom. I volunteered to lead my daughter's Girl Scout troop. Well, this was one of the tipping points. I went on a camping trip as one of the leaders with my 2 daughters. They were 16 months apart, and we got snowed in. And the moms, the kids were all playing in the other part of the cabin, and the moms were all maybe having a cocktail, or I don't know what we were doing. They were all talking, and I was mortified because they didn't care about what I did in my engineering job, and I had nothing to talk about as a mom because I worked all the time.
Right.
I either had my kids in daycare or I had a nanny, and I was mortified. And I made it through, of course, the weekend, but it got me thinking, like, this is not what I want. This is not who I am. I'm working for somebody else. I'm making someone else rich. I've developed a huge skill set over the years that I could turn into a business. And that's when the wheels started to turn, and I didn't want to be gone from my kids all the time. Why did I have four kids if someone else was going to raise them? So
Yeah.
that was really a tipping point where I really got going on developing that business.
Yeah. I feel I gosh, trading your time for money, not working for yourself, there's and on not spending time with your kids, or all of those issues I feel are so prevalent. But I think it's important to explore that. Like what made you decide to to take the leap? Because you were in a secure job, you're doing something that you enjoyed. And I think a lot of people out there are thinking that I would like more time for myself. I would like to spend more time with my family, dictate what I want to do, but then don't know how to do that. And often there's not a certain path to do that, but it takes some time to develop that. So it's just good to hear about that tipping point.
Yes, there was another tipping point also. I had some surgery and I was out for 8 weeks. I had a full hysterectomy and I was out of work for 8 weeks. And when I got able to be up and around after 6 weeks, I went to a local coffee shop to work, and all these people were outside in the sunlight. They were either outside having meetings in the park or they were in the coffee shop having meetings. And I'm thinking, like, wow, I have been walking through the same walls in a closed, secure building for, at that point, almost 20 years. And
Yeah.
there's people, how are they making money on the outside? They are less stressed. They get to see the outside. They get to smell the roses. And that was really another tipping point when I moved full steam ahead that I have to get out of this job. I
Yeah.
need to assess my skill set and how I can monetize it. And so um, that's what I did.
So when you did that, when you stepped out and decided you made the decision to do it, because I think that's the most challenging piece is like making the decision to leave that security. But when you decided to do that, and how did you discover the first area where you wanted to grow and develop a income stream around it?
Well, my whole career was in leadership. So I started out as an RF microwave design engineer in a lab, and then they just fast tracked me through leadership because of my leadership skills, manager skills, whatever. I'm not a manager, I'm more of a leader. And I began to realize that I could do that, but for myself. And that's when I really made a change. And so I have always built every single one of my businesses by networking. And
Mhm.
so one of my things that I always talk to people about is I believe you can get to the top of your game or the top of any company by three things: your verbal and nonverbal communication, your image, and networking. People network for the next position. They find out what they need to do and they meet all these people in the company, they get in front of people, and it's the same in the business world. We network to find out who those people are that we should be hanging with, that have opportunities that, we can partner with, that we can collaborate with. And so I fell in love with networking. I fell in love with the fact that people were supporting each other. They were really listening to what the other person did and how they could best support them. And
Yeah.
that's kind of the predecessor to my networking side of my business.
How do you monetize the networking piece?
So how do I monetize the networking piece? So for me, I own a networking brand, Connect and Collaborate, which is a
Huh?
division of Achieve Business Systems, and I monetize it by helping other people set up chapters.
Yeah.
And those people monetize it through different revenue streams. But when I didn't own my own networking company, I represented other women's organizations, other groups running their networking divisions, and the best way to monetize that was to really build those $1 million relationships that converted into business for you. And so when I was out, or when I'm out networking, I still am building those $1 million relationships that turn into cash flow.
Right. Right. It's just funny to think. I mean, networking is your lead generation, right? But it's how do you transform that? But then you're selling the system to other people. Makes a lot of sense. Selling your genius. Love it.
That's right. And this other book that's up there. So the one book
Ah,
is the purple book is about going from employee to entrepreneur. The other book is getting into bed with the right people in business, developing your $1 million relationship. So that's another way to monetize it. I have a networking certification that I help people curate their networking plan that converts, and I speak on different things in the book. So that's another way I monetized my networking as well.
sure. So you're on the stage too.
Or
Yeah.
in businesses.
Tell me, so you have the books are out. Are you hosting events? Tell me about what that's like. Because I know what you do in Achieve. Maybe we should talk about your relationship with Achieve.
Yeah, so the book will be out by the end of the year, the Breaking Free from the 9 to 5. That's a rebrand.
Yeah.
And but I do hold networking events all over the world. So through Connect and Collaborate, I um help people set up their chapters, but I also run a virtual international where I get people from different countries together to see how they can do business. And so I love that one. I have different experts every month speaking, and then I connect the dots with those people that they could, speak for, go to their events, speak at their conferences that, could really collaborate with them. And then back in the United States, I support all my chapters with their networking events.
You just like to party.
I do like to party, right?
It's such an opposite of engineering, right? It's like you left engineering and now you just it's social. So it's like it's almost the exact opposite of what you did.
It's the opposite. It
Yeah.
is the exact opposite. And, guys used to make fun of me when I was working, not to bash our males, but they would say, "Wow, you're thinking with both sides of your brain." I'm thinking like, don't you use both sides of your brain, your technical side and your creative side? I mean, like, like I could write a book on the things people said to me over the years.
Right. Right. I'm sure you could. Well, Phyllis, what is next for your business? What's on the horizon? What can we anticipate from you?
So, what's next on the horizon? So, with Achieve Business Systems, I'm running the February conference.
I'm
That's the immediate future.
excited.
I'm running a brand new type of conference that is pure lead generation through um, networking. There's no speakers, but there are roundtable experts that will be doing mini workshops to help you be the best you can be at building relationships. And I'm putting a new twist on it with some parties and a new way to, in a relaxed, fun environment, make those connections that will convert. And then, in addition to that, we're licensing out that conference all over the United States and all over the world. So I'm passionate about that because you're right. I do like the party. Instead of sitting behind a desk, I would rather get a bunch of people together and
Yeah.
make the magic happen.
That's where the solutions happen. Yeah, I'm thrilled to be a part of that conference in February. I'm really looking forward to it. And I think it's a great concept. So I'm excited. What do you find is what is the biggest hurdle that people have to overcome when it comes to creating those $1 million relationships and into actually networking and positioning themselves in a space where they can take their business to the next level? What have you noticed to be the biggest challenge?
The biggest challenge I see that people have is clarity. They're not really clear on what they offer and what they want. And so, the people that are the million or the multi-million dollar producers, they are clear on what they want. I'm sorry, they're clear on what they do, what they offer, where they want to go. The other people, or a lot of other people, are unclear. They don't have their messaging across because they are unclear about what they do. So, a confused mind doesn't buy. If you're going to pitch your products or your services to somebody and you're not clear, it's never going to work. And so that's what I'm finding when I'm working with people, is that they either don't have the confidence in what they do, they don't have the structure down right, they don't have the clarity, and they're not able to verbalize it. And
Right.
that's another one of my superpowers that I had from when I was in engineering. I could take the most complex problem and explain it to the janitor. Well, the saying is you need to be able to explain what you're doing in 5-year-old language so people understand it. But then you have to have the excitement behind it to get other people to want what you have or what you're offering. But I find that it's mainly clarity and then fear of getting out there, confidence, fear. But then again, it's because they have a clouded structure, clouded
Yeah.
vision.
Yeah. It's amazing that it comes down to just a few simple things. And I'm not a Gemini, but there's something, we were drinking the same water at some point in time because we're very, very similar in our ability to want to make an impact and to
Yes,
distill a bunch of information into digestible pieces. And that's what I love to do too, is the teaching the teachers how to teach their
I
gene.
love,
Yeah.
I love it.
Yeah. Oh, I'm excited about all of these things that we have going on. How I like to conclude the interview is to ask you if you have advice for somebody out there that might be thinking about leaving their 9 to 5. And I mean, you wrote a whole book about it, so I'm sure you have all sorts of advice. But what are some top pieces of advice that you have for people that might be a little bit fearful about monetizing their genius?
Right. And one of my mantras is never settle for less than what you really want or what you really deserve. And for me, what I want to get across to people and help them with is designing a life on their terms so they can live, lead, and leave their legacy. So it all starts with what lights them up.
Mhm.
What lights them up, which goes back to, your why. I have a very extensive why, so that. But you have to know what your why is. You have to know what your core values are and what lights you up. And then what are you good at? That's another thing. What are you good at? So when I was halfway through my engineering career, I had soft skills and I had hard skills, and I knew what I was good at. And over the years, I built a toolbox of those hard and soft skills. And so when I was ready to take that leap, and I did the work and I did the research, I would have that toolbox with me. The other thing is, I like to tell people that what do they help people with all the time? What problems are they good at solving? And what could they get paid to do? I mean,
Mhm.
that's really what it's all about. So many of us help people all the time, but could you turn that into a business?
Right.
And is it something that people want and need? So, that would be my recommendation for how to monetize it, and do the research. But it's really, I like to say it's the intersection of what lights you up, what you're passionate about, and what you could get paid to do.
That is 100% what it is to be a genius entrepreneur. But you've
Yes,
got to have the moxie to take that first step and make that decision. So
absolutely.
you got to test your ideas and get them out there and get some feedback and change them and pivot and do all the things. So
Right. Right.
yeah,
How can you make an impact? That's one of the things I live by, is how can you make an impact? How can you make a difference? Fill someone's needs.
I love that. I love that. Phyllis, you and I are going to be working together in many spaces. I can feel it. The
I love it.
world, all of it, because everything's interconnected. So
Absolutely.
I love hearing that. And where can our audience find you?
So on LinkedIn, you can also scan that QR code. That's my link tree. I'm on all social media at Phyllis Marlene Benstein. So, connect with me on LinkedIn, reach out, and also on connectandcollaborate.co, because we are on a mission to change the way that people network by connecting, collaborating, and like we said, building those $1 million relationships. So, my big vision is to have chapters in every state and every country so we can bring those businesses together authentically.
That's great. Well, I've been to many Achieve conferences and I look forward to the one in February, which is not that far away. So
90 days or less.
I know it's crazy. Well, we just finished a conference and now it's time to work on the next one. So that's awesome. Well, thank you for coming to the interview today. I appreciate hearing your story and knowing a little bit more about you, how a
Thank you.
recovered engineer can help somebody vision their future and out of their 9 to 5. I think it's pretty amazing. So thank you for coming today.
Thank you so much for the opportunity. I really appreciate it.
Of course. And to all you potential genius entrepreneurs out there that are thinking about stepping into consulting, this interview is something that can help make that decision. You can control your time, live a life of your strengths, and make an impact with other people. So we'll see you next time on the Genius Entrepreneur Podcast to explore how you can start making a difference in the marketplace.